Aloha. Like recently, well, yesterday and today, I've been really amped up with um, information. But today, um, I wanted to do a video specifically on. I started to recognize the trends with what's going on in the political scene and how they're getting ready to start, or they're already selling whatever it is right under your nose. I did a video um, on Bernie Sanders, just observing a video like that and seeing how they're trying to sell him in there, and to make it seem like we're gonna have a choice pretty soon on choosing like socialism or whatever else. There's gonna be some kind of like American version of socialism, just with another face or whatever it's gonna be. Basically, the what's being geared up now is and the other part was Trump, and why Trump, like why Trump is out there and doing what he's doing, because it's so obvious to be a show, how he is with his whole blatant disconnection from the heart, and his like envelopment of the ego, and how that's being sold off as whatever. And the only leg he has to stand on that they're really trying to sell him as is being a father, a father figure with a family and that whole thing. And he can't do that because his heart is trapped in a box of egoic illusions and just money and separation from himself. It's a whole like series of things that he's getting put out there. Well, ultimately he's being sold. He's selling the race division, like keeping people like the precursor to Trump was the news expansion on Black Lives Matter, and keeping it focused on black and white. That's the main thing. The news wants to be focused on black and white, and keep the whole world focused on that world. So whatever comes in next, even if they come in and try to sell like a gray rainbow with some sprinkles of color here and there, uh, it'll look like that we're getting the whole universe, as opposed to what was available before that, like Trump. So that's why Trump is out there right now. Is like, oh well, Trump is out there, so we can say, oh well, at least we don't have Trump. But what's being sold on the undertone, was not on the whole story, is Bernie Sanders is out there to push the socialist agenda with, like, well, if they push that whole agenda, he's going to be in there to go sell in another layer of enslavement, a deeper layer hidden by a higher minimum wage and all this other stuff. Any of these individuals getting up there, they're not going to be able to do anything. That's the main point that's getting put out there. But in the meantime, the political game being played, it exists. So it's like playing with, like they're trying to see, are they going to have the rook or the knight or their actual queen getting in their seat. So it depends on what. See, that's the whole thing. We get like a choice to choose what it is. We're really choosing a lesser of four evils, pretty much. It's been in the past. It's been a lesser of two evils. When you have the Democrats and Republicans, but people are getting smarter and more aware of things, and they know what's going on. So the game has to be a little more complicated in a sense. This is why John Oliver and Stephen Colbert, they get more pumped up, and they have more television shows get more pumped up into the political scene. Even the time difference between when Stephen Colbert had his show shut down and moved into the Tonight or the Late Show with Letterman taking over his Letterman spot, that was a whole information stream that Colbert was putting out on Comedy Central. And realizing all this shit is an illusion anyway. I'm just doing this for fun to observe this and share the information. But it's relevant, it matters. People are putting all their heart and soul into thinking that what's going on is the end all be all of what's going on. And they go and vote for all this other stuff. The same reason why Obama was put in there to sell hope and the whole thing, that whole world. That's all they did was to sell hope. And that was a precursor. It really just puts the timeline, puts this progress line further out there. And in the meantime, we just get sucked into whatever it is that we get sold. So if they're going to sell you $15, but take, all kinds of other energetic frequencies away from you, meaning your power and how you experience your reality hidden under something else, then that's like we need to speak on these things and understand what's being done here on this space, so we can understand how to undo what's being done or what has been done and see the trends going on here. So this is why I'm sharing this. But the main point I wanted to get on, it doesn't even have to be that long, is Trump's being put out there, Hillary's being put out there. Trump is being put out there to be the sacrifice. Like, he's being put out there so he can be like the guy that we're like, oh, okay, that's cool, we don't have. Hillary's being put out there to kind of dampen the women's empowerment movement right there, and the women realizing the shit that's been going on for so long. It's like pre-civil rights stuff. It's been like the women had, see, the race, the black and white stuff happened back in, or at least like the movie version of that happened back in the 60s. But women weren't a part of that. In the 70s, women couldn't even have all kinds of stuff up until like credit cards and all kinds of stuff. Like, this is these are mentalities that are being pushed across systematically. So they already cut Hillary's legs out with the whole email thing, and this is on purpose. Bernie Sanders is out there pushing socialism and knowing that a good majority of people ain't gonna go for that, even though they try to hide it and say it's democratic socialism. People are already scared of words and that whole thing, and rightly so. Like, I see that whole thing as being worse off than the way it's being sold. If nobody's talking about the Native Americans and nobody's talking about the essence of what's going on here in this country and the people, and you see all of them, this is all Caucasian vision. This is all a whole world focused on control from one race. So it's black and white, but they control what it is that we consider to be, the storyline. So the main thing, like the punchline is, what's not being talked about is, because that's always coming in later. What's not being talked about is Joe Biden. And so how on the Tonight Show they integrate the news and television, TV shows with they're like mixing them even further. So that's why like George Clooney is out here to put with his wife doing the human rights thing, doing her thing all over the planet. Like, so how the Tonight Show is designed, you can see how it fits in the political scene with the news and all this other and other TV shows. So the first people Colbert had on the Late Show. Oh yeah, this is another reason why they put all these young characters on these new TV shows to interview all these celebrities and do this whole thing to make it seem like they're being more part of the people. They're more connected to the people. Like, get all the older crew out of there, so the new generation won't feel so lost or distant from the political game. So that's why the younger people are coming on the TV shows to make the celebrities more relevant, to make the politicians more relevant. Also, to make light of something very heavy duty. This information and these moves that are being made are very important. So if they turn it into a TV show or a movie, then they can spread it a little longer or move the timeline out a little longer for us, or what we call the reality and actual movement, because we are vested in these people, like our hearts, like the younger generation. We grew up on like Jimmy Fallon on Saturday Night Live and all this other stuff, and movies and laughing with like Russell Brand was out there telling a certain frequency of information, which is kind of like the cousin of all these other TV shows that are telling like a certain amount of revealing disclosure, so-called information, but it only goes so deep and it's very shallow. The distance that these places go. My main observation was Trump is out there to be the sacrifice. Hillary out there to cut down on the women empowerment movement. Bernie Sanders is out there to push the ultimate lockdown of control. And what's not being sold, they're coming in later, their later edition is Joe Biden. So Joe Biden, so the first two characters they had on the Colbert Late Show was Jeb Bush and George Clooney. So Jeb Bush is on there. They're not going to put a third Bush in there, because that's like the ultimate asshole move from all of what's happening. But to even have his name out there as like a possibility is just the biggest slap in the face to the people and to the storylines of the roots of what's going on right now. So on the Late Show, it was Jeb Bush, who was really there to make the Trump card look more jacked up, and also get people like possibly thinking about Bush being like having another Bush in the presidential seat. And then so they expand Trump and expand Bush a little bit, but really ultimately just cut his legs off, because Colbert just is like, whatever, dude, we have you on here because you're a name, but you're really not a presidential candidate, because you're just a Bush, like a ridiculously thorny Bush that's just gonna tear shit up, just like the last Bushes. So he was there, and then the next day they had, and George Clooney was on there, so he was there to like soften it up. So they talked about, so they use like Hollywood celebrities to soften these blows. So he was out there to do that, and they might even also bring in another celebrity to run for president, like another tag team celebrity, husband and wife, to move in to run in the meantime. But what I've observed is their big card that's being played next is Joe Biden as president and Barack Obama, and that's why he was on the second. So they bring Joe Biden on here to tell his heart. Like they want somebody to have an actual heart, and who can share a heart, from a man, to like soften up all the other bullshit. So he makes Bernie Sanders look far out, like way out there. So Joe Biden, he's been in there. He's gonna make things more realistic. And then you back it up, like he's the trump card when you got Obama as the vice president. So Obama's gonna be in there as another term, and they're basically gonna extend the Obama whole thing into another term, with Biden being the kicker. He's gonna be the guy, and they use all this his storyline and the essence of his human nature to sell in that next seat. So keep an eye out for how it's being sold right now. They already cut Hillary's legs off. Trump is already done. Bush is already, he's a Bush, and Bernie Sanders is too far out there. That's the game being played right now. And keep an eye on Joe Biden and Barack Obama being pushed as the next president and vice president. So that's where I wanted to leave. That's pretty much it, and I'll leave it there. So till next time, thank you for joining me. Peace, love, and harmony.